8 o'clock in the AM. Sitting on a bench by the library, by the public toilets, by Morrison's. Yesterday was heavy. It's a lot of work, considering it's meant to be a day of rest. Which actually, of course, every day is meant to be. The true Sabbath is today, now. So I intended for a day of rest yesterday, and it wasn't that, because there's always work to do as well. So I went to the church. I resisted the temptation to get there early. They're open from 6:30, serving breakfast, coffee. I got there about 10 o'clock, no, 10:15. I don't know, something like that. I believe the service is meant to start at 10:30, and I sat with the coffee, and those that were drinking coffee either went into the service as it started or left for home, apart from one man. I stayed with him until he went home, and I sat drinking my coffee. I was in worship, because I always am. My heart is always angled towards God. And the service went on, and there was worship music. Before the service started, I had a friend join me, Simon, with his dog Stella, who I'd never met before, and he didn't even know why he walked into that church. We know, we found out, we realised. So we sat there. Simon looked exhausted, he was resting, it was cold as well, so he had a coffee. Now, Simon has a slip disc in his back, but he also has a proportion of his brain missing. He was attacked with a hammer, and he had to have part of his brain removed. But he felt safe in the church, speaking to me, having a coffee. And then somebody came out and informed us that the dog wasn't allowed in the church, because they were about to do the children's portion of programming. They were going to teach the children in the room that we were in with the dog. Okay. But you're welcome to sit in the foyer or outside in the sunshine if you like. So we sat in the foyer having a drink. We got bread. I got a new scarf and a top, and I got a scarf and a hat for Simon, and put it on for him, and I just felt like a mother getting her child ready for school or something, tying the tie up. So Simon he gets confused. Anyway, the service finished. I believe that me and Simon went and came back. We took the dog for a walk rather than sit outside and get coffees delivered to us, or, you know. So we went and came back because I needed to connect to the Wi-Fi, because Simon couldn't remember how to get home to his house, which is like a supported accommodation. And I knew the name he told me where it was, the name of it, and I knew I'd heard the name, but I couldn't recall exactly where it was, so I had to connect to Wi-Fi, so back to the church. And while we were there, the service finished and everybody sat in communion and ate together, and they were eating chili con carne with rice. And the minister asked Simon if he could bring some food out to him to eat on his lap. And I said, Simon, bro, if you want to get in the warm and go and eat with the people, I'll definitely look after the dog. That's not a chore, that's a blessing. I would gladly take that on, so you can sit down and feel like a human and eat amongst humans if you want. And the minister said, I think it's best if you eat outside. The minister of a Christian church that speaks about inclusivity and having Christ-like values, not only watched but insisted. So I sat with him so that he wasn't eating on his own, slumped up the doorway. A functioning addict, you know. Because it's not about the food, is it? Stop throwing food at people from 30 yards away. Burnt offerings does not please the Lord, even by your own reasoning. Stupid people reading the same book over and over again and not changing. And that's not a reflection on the book. I could tie these Christians up in knots with their own literature that I have memorized and imprinted on my heart. I don't even touch the Bible because I don't need to. I've read it. It exists within me and I live it. The birds are in agreement. And I'm not going around teaching these people because these people don't want to be taught by me. They would not receive the truth of the words that I speak, the energy that I embody. The devil kicked me out of that church yesterday. The devil operating through that minister as he stood in front of me and in front of Simon, speaking to Simon who was facing me. Kindly inviting Simon outside to eat some of their generous food offerings. He, the minister, the standing man amongst sitting men in that instance. I don't know how to explain what is it called? When you, like, his feet made the motion of kicking sand behind him. That kind of, like, do you understand? The spirit that operates through that man evicted me from the premises spiritually on the understanding that he holds the keys to that place, and he did it silently. Because those people they don't have courage and bravery accessible. they have been overtaken by doctrine in the head. And I heard his preaching, and I was there, sat there, worshipping amongst those folk last week, and the sermon was the same. It was the same words, maybe reordered, the same theme. And it all started speaking about how much food, coffee, cake was available, just like last week. Most people go to church, sit through, bear with, try and stay awake during the sermon, just so they can have a bit of a natter and a cup of coffee with some other people afterwards. That church is everyone's favourite cafe. Any church. Because the quest to connect with God is an internal process. Do you think it's healthy for groups of people to be in touch with God, or as far as they are aware, on a Sunday morning, maybe a Wednesday evening? Or, you know, set up more regular prayer meetings? Deep inside yourself is where you find God. The divine consciousness that operates this realm, that births new things, exists in all the books. It is everywhere. Those that are being elevated can't be grounded in the reality, can they? If you're on a pedestal, you might be able to see a bit further, but you can't see what's under your feet. I did the church's work for them yesterday when I sat with Simon and then made sure that he got home safe. I did the church's work yesterday when I refused to go into the service because what I needed was not to be energetically enmeshed with a lot of lost people. So I sat outside and prayed for the whole thing, prayed over, just thought nothing but love, peace, upliftment, instead of being affected by the energy of what I know to be untruth. You can't force any unit of consciousness, especially like egregore institutions that have been dreamed up and given false promises of authority. Humans love to be institutionalized because they don't know any other way. We were sold down the river. Our parents handed us over into slavery, into a whole societal structure set up to kill us and take from us and keep us ignorant to, when we were tiny, in a land of giants, to terrify us into never asking questions or standing up and correcting, or at least highlighting what is incorrect. Mr. Green, my maths teacher, in, I don't know, maybe year 8, 9, doesn't really matter. He was furious when I asked him why we had to learn Pythagoras' theorem, considering I knew then that not many of us would have any call for it in later life. He was furious, like energetically. He was saying, how dare you, I've wasted 8 years of, I spent 8 years of my life learning this sort of stuff just so I can spit it at you. How dare you not be grateful? Religion wants us to think that as far as God's concerned, that's it. That's it. What society hands out on a silver platter as available experiencing of God. You're either in one of those buildings on the home team, or you're outside looking in. And that's why they have stained glass windows, so you can't see what's going on. And so the people inside can't see the real world. Yeah, the glass is stained with the blood of 1 billion people, charged with rendering humans docile, telling them to tell themselves that they're not worthy of the love that they can't quite reach anyway. But don't worry, we've got a team of trained specialists who can come and feel our energy for a moment. We maybe even put some new clothes on you and fill your pockets with bread. But the minute you start trying to want to be whoever the fuck you are, that's not gonna fly, and you're back where you started at square zero, not even square one. So you might have to join another cult, one where you fit in a bit more. Humans will always get swallowed up by something. It's just that past the point we actually have a choice what we surrender to, what we fall into. The void that brings forth creation, or just a black hole of complete ignorance and apathy. Those that are afraid of the dark are doomed to live there. It's not about going to war. It's not about battling institutions that think they're the right side. Because why would you purposely want to make yourself the devil? I just want to live in peace. Rumbling with churches is not peaceful to me. It's not going to result in peace for them. It's going to excite them and make them feel more justified in their faith. Like, and it wouldn't end well. Like, it wouldn't end well, because I'm a child of God. For anybody to come against me, anybody, doesn't matter whether it's one human or it's a group, it's still one human, because all groups of humans will be reduced down to the ideology of one unit of consciousness. The one that started the group. So it doesn't really matter. Groups are not more powerful than one human. And I've already won. Because I don't stand against corruption. I stand for correctness, righteousness. And my team is bigger than one.